What's up? How are you? How are you? We are live. My name is Hassan Riggs. I'm the founder and CEO at Smart Alto. I'm excited to chat with you today. Excited to be here. I really just, I was talking to, I was talking to one of my buddies. He's become one of my buddies over the past couple of years. We quite literally helped him grow from zero to 50 homes to 100 homes, and this year he's going to sell 250 homes as a brokerage. Um, and on his third year in business, he's going to sell more than 250 homes. And we start talking about how his company is growing, how his real estate brokerage is growing, how he has 7 folks now, the technologies, the tools that he uses, and all of that stuff, which I'll explain in a moment. And I'm also going to have him join me on a Facebook Live here coming up in the next couple of weeks so that you can just get a sense of who he is, what he's about, what he believes, what he stands for. But we also start talking about how Smart Alto has been growing, how his brokerage is growing. Because, I'm in a really unique position, and I say this very humbly, that I talk to some of the top agents, teams, and brokers all around the country every single day. I'm speaking at NAR, the National Association of Realtors Conference in early November. So hopefully, if you're in San Francisco or you plan on going to NAR, hopefully you can stop by my session. I'm going to be talking about how to build better customer relationships through digital marketing. I know Steve Jolly, my buddy Steve, is going to be out there. Sheila is in San Francisco, but I don't think she's going to be able to make the conference this year. But if you're going to be in San Francisco, come by my session, and we'd love to just meet you in person, chat with you, and put a face with a name and all that type of jazz, right? But we're talking about how his business has been growing, my business has been growing. And while we start talking about some of these things and really pulling back the onion, it became pretty clear early on that we share a lot of similar practices, a lot of similar habits with regards to running our business, developing our business. And I think in part because I run a technology company, there are some things that come really natural to me, or some things that I've learned that folks in the real estate space may not have picked up. Because when you become a real estate agent, when you become a real estate broker, when you start running a team, there's no training on that. When you become a real estate agent, you go down, you get your license, you put your shingles up, and you're in business. But no one actually tells you now you're in business. Now you have to figure out, how do I get leads? You have to figure out, how do I convert deals? You have to figure out, how do I properly use my resources? That's one of the reasons you get paid the big bucks, right? That's why decisions that are made at the highest level in corporate America, Pfizer, Hilton, Abbott Laboratories, Google, Amazon, Airbnb, those decisions that get made at the highest level are oftentimes made in the gray. There's not a lot of black and white decisions that are made at the highest level. Fortunately for us, and the types of decisions that we have to make on a day-to-day basis, a lot of those decisions can be made by data. They can be made in the black and white. And so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to share some things that I picked up over the past couple of years running and growing my business, but also share some lessons learned, some best practices on some of the top agents, teams, brokers in real estate, how they've grown their business, how they've continued to kind of catapult, double their business. I've worked with people who've quite literally started off at 0 homes sold 3 years ago, and this year will sell 250 homes. We've talked about how CJ Evans he went from 0 to $2 million per month in real estate sales in a little bit less than 18 months. What we're talking about is, I'm going to say this up front, what we're talking about is something that is attainable for you. This isn't like something that you read in a book. This isn't something that you just read on some random blog post around how someone has grown their business. You can actually do this. You can do it. Yes, you from Middle America, or you from New York or San Francisco. You can actually do this. And I don't know if anyone has really said that to you. That, yeah, there's someone here who believes in you that you can do it. But I can share with you some of the principles that have led me to greater and greater levels of success and led my buddies, whether it's Chris over at Curator or Dave and Dan over at Follow Up Boss, David at Lion Desk, whether it's Jesse Zagorski at Live Love Home San Diego.com or Fred McGill at Simple Showing, right? I can share with you some of the principles and best practices and some of the things, the values that guide the business forward. Those things can be learned. What can't be learned is grit, perseverance. I just got off a podcast a couple of moments ago with Eric from Quantum Digital. Um, like, raise your hand, give me a shout out if you're actually using Quantum Digital. I think that would be pretty cool to know. If we got some folks in here who are using Quantum Digital, give me a second, put this overlay on. Image overlay. No, where my comments at? There we go. So, let me see this. Audio, internal speakers. Okay, let me see. Give me 1 second. All right. Where's my monitor? And perfect. There we go. Maybe you can hear me a little better now. Give me a shout out in the comment section if you can hear me better now, because I just connected my audio a little bit, right? So, um, yeah, I just got off a podcast with Eric over at Quantum Digital, and one of the things that we were talking about is how he's began to continue to grow the business, move the business forward. And it's been just a fascinating ride for him. But we're talking about some of the things and some of the principles that I've used. And so, without further ado, I'm going to just kind of dive into some lessons and best practices learned. And again, one of the things that I can share with you when we talk about Fred McGill and how he's grown his business from literally zero homes sold to 250 homes sold this year is Jesse Zagorski, how he sells hundreds of homes a year. Um, but the overall volume decrease, let me see, is that better? The overall volume. Oh yeah. And so there should be a link in the Facebook post that says something about like click this link so you can like let the host see who you are. If you click that link, then I'll be able to see who you are because I can see a couple of people who are commenting here, but I don't actually know who you are. If you click that, I'll be able to see it. But yeah, I can talk to you about how Jesse Zagorski sells hundreds of homes, how Steve Jolly and his team, um, C, CJ Evans. I can go down a list of individual agents, teams, and brokers who've quite literally increased their business year after year, month after month, day after day, and how they put systems and processes in place. And today I'm going to share a little about some of the themes that really drive through. But what I can't give you the grit, I can't give you the perseverance, can't give you the resiliency to actually make some of things happen. But I will share some of the practices, and I do want to share with you that I actually believe in you. I know you can do it. I come from a background that was, you know, not always the best, right? And I know people who've come from backgrounds that are not always the best who've done well. And there's also people who grew up like me and in a great sense. I grew up a very privileged person I went to some of the best schools. I went to the University of Alabama to get my undergrad degree. I went to Columbia University in the city of New York, to get my graduate degree. And none of those things actually prepare you to run a business. So you don't need some fancy degree to run a business. You do need perseverance, grit, resiliency, and some of these things that we're going to talk about here in a second. So, um, how have I actually grown my business, doubled my business? How is Fred, gone from 0 to 250 homes? So, and Fred, I'm going to have Fred here on a Facebook Live here in the next couple of days. The first thing we're going to talk about is um, the relationship between speed and trust. So I don't know if you've ever actually heard this before, but it's a really important thing to know and internalize that there is a strong direct relationship between speed and trust. So if you have transactions that are really slow, if you're talking to a home buyer and they're really hesitant to sign that buyer's agreement. You're talking to you're at a listing appointment and you can't actually move over the hump. And then even once you sign that person and they're your client, they don't want to sell the home at the same price that you do. You're showing them data, you're showing them facts. My buddy runs the company called Compass. His name is Robert Refkin. He runs Compass, right? And he gives his agents all this great data on the market and what a person should actually price their home at. But one of the challenges is that when you tell someone, hey, here's the comps, here's what you should probably sell your home with, people are still hesitant to do that. The problem with that is it slows the transaction down. You're the expert, but people aren't actually taking your advice. And so it slows the transaction down. The reason that the transaction is slow is because they don't trust you. There's a direct relationship between speed and trust. When you want to make more money faster, you need to do more transactions. And one of the are larger transactions, but the way that you get there is by establishing a level of trust in the relationship. And we oftentimes talk about how real estate is a relationship driven business, and people really want to focus on a relationship. And I say it all the time: the sale is made when the relationship is built. The sale is made when the relationship is built. So if you truly believe that the sale is made when the relationship is built, then you need to build as many strong, fast, valuable relationships with as many people as possible, as fast as possible. But then how do you do that? So, my wife, she works for the FBI in counterintelligence. And I know that we have some law enforcement professionals in here. Heather Bennett, give me a shout out if you are in law enforcement or you used to be just a first responder or you've worked for the government. Um, because I'll love to know who you are and give you a shout out. Got a great deal of respect for you. So thank you for your service every day. But nevertheless, so Ashley works for the FBI in counterterrorism. And we often talk about the relationship between speed and trust. And so think about 9/11, right? Pre 9/11. Most of you in the group, you've traveled through the airport before 9/11 happened. So think about it. You could get to the airport 30, 45 minutes before the flight took off. And guess what? You could go through security. You could get to your gate with 15 minutes to spare. Why is that? Because at that point, the government trusted you. They knew, or at least they believed they knew, that you weren't a terrorist. After 9/11, what went away? Trust went away. And so now, after 9/11, they tell you to get to the airport 2 hours early, 3 hours for international flight, but 2 hours early for domestic flights. And now you got to take off your jacket, your bags. You got to take your shoes off, your belt off. It slows the process down. What slowed the process down? Now the government, they don't trust you. You have to prove to them you are who you say you are. And if you're not who you say you are, they're going to find out. So that created an opportunity. Ever heard of global entry? Ever heard of TSA pre-check? What are you doing? Most people don't understand what they're actually buying. When they go down and they give their $100 for global entry and they go through that whole interview process, you don't actually understand what you're buying. You're buying trust. You're telling the government, hey, don't worry. I am who I say I am. I'm not a terrorist. I live at this address. You can look me up. You can know where I work. You can verify I am this person and I'm not a terrorist. Right? I'm not a terrorist. And so when you get global entry and TSA pre-check, now you can get to the line faster. What have you done? You've bought trust. There's a relationship between speed and trust. And so, again, if you're talking to people and the transaction is slow, you don't have trust. So, let me share with you how you can build that trust. One way to build trust and build stronger, more valuable relationships with people it's not what you think it is. Like most people think that the best way to build a relationship with someone it's like be buddies. Let's go grab a drink. Like let's talk about all the fun things that we can do together. Yeah, and that's one way, but it's actually not the best way. The best way to build relationships with people and to build trust with people is through teaching. The people you have the best relationships with in your life, even if it's friends or people you learn something from. Growing up, the people who you respected the most, the people you listened to, they were all authority figures. They all taught you something. Teachers, doctors, lawyers, parents, they all taught you something. And so you have a really good relationship with those people. Your friends, who, even the ones who are really fun, you learn something from them. Maybe you learn something about yourself, maybe you learn something about the world, but we have a human need to grow and to contribute to society. And so the people we have the best relationships from are the folks we learn something from. And so you need to start teaching, not being condescending, but grabbing people around the arms and the shoulders and begin teaching them something. So, how do you do that? And what are you going to teach them about? You're going to teach them about the market. You're going to teach them early and often through the process, through the home selling or home buying process. You're going to educate people on, hey, you know what? There's a new commercial property that's going up about 3 miles down the road. If you buy within a half a mile of that, we are estimating that your property values are going to increase by X percent. What are you doing? You're teaching them something new about the market, about the way the market has been shifting. That's how you build trust with people through teaching. And so, what I do quite a great deal in our business is I teach. I'm speaking soon at the National Association of Realtors conference. I'm speaking soon. Um, and I travel quite a bit and I speak and I teach and I share with people things that I've learned, things that kind of help move the process forward. What am I doing? I'm teaching. I'm building better relationships with people. Because when people trust me, the transactions speed up. And so even if they talk to somebody on my team, they say, you know what? I learned a lot from that guy, Hassan. I know that he's on my side. He's a part of my team. He truly is invested in my success. And now you have a better relationship with people. Our first 100 customers actually had my personal cell phone number. They had my personal number. And they would call me, they would text me, and we would chat and we would talk, building relationships through trust. Let me know in the comments section how you work to build trust with people. Because if you're not working to build trust with people, if you don't have a game plan for that, then you don't have it. And you're on the same playing field with everyone else, and you don't want to build the same playing field as everyone else. You want to have a unique and unfair competitive advantage. One of the things that one of our clients has done um, to to build community, and this is the second thing we're going to talk about, is building community. And this goes along with like the execution around how you build trust. So, um, hey, Eric, you said I froze up on you. So hopefully I did not freeze up on everyone else. You can put in the comments section. It seems like I'm working well for everyone else. And so hopefully, Eric, I'll come back to you in a second. Uh, so Oh, building community. This is a really unique idea um, that I've only seen a couple of agents like execute on really well. So this idea of commitment and consistency. So and building community. We all, as humans, want to belong. We all want to belong to a group, to a community, to share our like interests, to share affinity with people. So one of my clients, based in Minnesota, um, I'm I'm trying to have him on. He's a little hesitant because he doesn't want everyone to know his great ideas. But what he's done, he is a real estate agent. He's been an agent for the past 5 or 6 years, and he is a gun enthusiast. I think he's in Minnesota, a gun enthusiast. He absolutely loves them. And what he did is build an affinity group with people who are also interested about firearms. I think he was a former police officer. Well, now he's got like 2,000 people in this Facebook group who all live in his local area. He takes his clients out, prospects out to the gun range to shoot, and creates these really cool, fantastic, awesome, amazing videos of at the gun range shooting. Well, now he's like the gun guy. That's how people think about him. He's like the gun guy, who the real estate agent. He has a brand in that market. So anytime someone in that Facebook group is interested in buying a home, selling a home, they always go to him. Why? Because they know, like, and trust him. He's built that trust factor. Like 80% of the content in that group is not real estate related. 15% of it is. Well, he'll post listings, he'll post pictures of him with his clients. He'll post all this stuff to remind folks, yeah, I am an agent. This is how I make my money, but I also live a full life. And part of my life is real estate. Another part is guns. If you like guns, let's go to the gun range. You got to sell a house, come to me too. And so he's quite literally gone from like increase his number of sales by 15-20% year after year after year. When he gets a new lead from running that list of homes Facebook ad, one of the first things that he does is puts them in that group. He puts them in the Facebook group because now he has an unfair competitive advantage. We have a a Smart Alto client in this group, in the Facebook group, who's a pilot. Do you know how many people are fascinated with aviation? You could create a Facebook group around aviation, around being a pilot. I think he flies for Delta, maybe? I'm not sure. Can't remember. But you know how many people are interested in that? How many people are interested in, you know, cooking ethnic food from the old country? You can name it. There are different affinity groups. Maybe you do P90X or CrossFit or whatever. Building a small group and community that people can belong to gives you an unfair advantage to build relationships with those people. We got about 2,000 people in this Facebook group. Most of the people in this group, they not only know me, but they know about my wife, Ashley. I talk about it all the time. There's no way that you can know me and not know my wife. There's no way that you can know me and not know I went to the University of Alabama and I love Alabama football. I talk about it all the time because I'm a full person and I want you to know me. And quite honestly, it's a lot of people in this group. I know a lot about you too. Because we have a relationship. That gives me, as a business person, a great leg up because people know me, they like me, they trust me, they know I have their best interest in mind. They know I'm not just out here trying to make a dollar. And the number one complaint that people have about real estate sales professionals is they're too salesy. They're only interested in the transaction. They're only trying to make more money. No, roll tide. No, not go Bucks, Eric. Roll tide. But people know me, and it's just an important part of the process of building relationships. So we've talked about the importance of teaching. We've talked about the importance of building community. EQ over IQ. This is a big one. I went to fancy schools. So what? You don't have to go to a fancy school to be successful in life. The agents, the teams, the brokers who I know, personally know, who built wealth through real estate, the biggest distinguishing factor between them and everyone else, they're really good at moving people from transactional to relational because their EQ is greater than their IQ, and they have a really high IQ, but their EQ is greater than their IQ. Your EQ stands for emotional intelligence. You need real estate sales is a relationship business. Like relationships drive automotive, finance, healthcare, real estate, every industry, it drives it forward because the sale is made when the relationship is built. The sale is made when the relationship is built. So it makes sense to build as many strong, valuable relationships with as many people as possible. But how can you do that when every time you reach out to people, you're saying, you're looking to buy a house today, you're ready to buy a house today, you're looking to buy a house today, you're looking to buy a house today, you're looking to buy a house today, you ready to buy a house now, you're looking to buy a house now. That's a transaction, man. You're not trying to build a relationship with people. You're not trying to help them. You're just trying to make a dollar. And people can see through that. So, how are you going to move people from transactional to relational? One way is reach out to them and be actually interested in their life. Where did they go to school? Do they have kids? Why are they interested in buying or selling a house? What's the true motivation for that? Where are they from? One of the questions I always ask people is not where you live, but where are you from? Do you know how many fascinating conversations I've started with that simple question? Where are you from? Oh, well, I live. Um, in this part of town. No, 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 no. Where are you from? Where did you grow up? How did your parents get there? And the conversation just unfolds. Why do I know how to do that? Maybe I just learned it naturally. Maybe it's because I'm from Alabama and we always have small talk in Alabama. But I have a really high EQ. My emotional intelligence and the way that I build relationships with people, it's something that does come very naturally for me because I truly care. This is something you can't fake. You can't fake caring about somebody. Right? And if you do, it's going to shine through. But I ask people, where are you from? Where did you grow up? EQ is greater than IQ. You got to know how to deal with people. Getting your real estate license shows you how to deal and make transactions. It doesn't show with you how to deal with people. So I don't care if you didn't go to a fancy school. I don't care if you didn't go to college or graduate college. None of that crowd matters. Doesn't matter. It's not going to be the driving force that makes you successful or not successful, but dealing with people will. If you're cantankerous, if you're always starting arguments, you're argumentative, you can't take feedback well, you don't know how to move through difficult situations delicately, that will stop you from being successful. Not what school you went to, not what your first job was, but dealing with people. People who make the big money, they think in the gray. They're really good at building relationships with people. Their EQ is greater than their IQ. So let me ask you this. How high is your EQ? Are you better at the transaction part of this business than the relationship part of this business? That may be, don't take offense to this, that may be why you're not hitting your goals this year. Ain't because of the leads are bad. It's because you haven't connected with them. Think about that for a moment. Don't take offense to that. But if you're not hitting your goals and you're always talking about bad leads, everyone is dealing with the same leads. The people who came through Zillow also clicked on a Facebook ad who also responded to a Google ad. We're all talking about the same people. It's not like new people just exist. It's not the same person who's responding to different ads. You want to win that business? Focus on them. Focus on helping. Focus on building the relationship as fast as possible. Have a good EQ. EQ greater than IQ. Is that helpful at all? Hopefully that's helpful. It's a really big, important point. So we talked about trust. We talked about building community. We talked about teaching. Talked about EQ greater than IQ. OPM. I'm gonna send something very valuable to the person in the chat who can tell me what OPM stands for. You hear all the time in real estate, OPM. The way you get wealthy in real estate is through OPM. OPM. What's OPM? What does it stand for? I'll give you a couple of seconds while I drink this water. Tell me what OPM stands for. I'm glad this has been helpful for you. I don't know who that is though. You got to click that little button. I see Eric is here, Josh is here, Dale is here. Those are only, I see a lot of comments, but I can't see who everyone is. You got to click that button. Other people's money, that's a great guess. That's a great guess. Other people's money. People say it all the time. Other people's money. What I mean when I say OPM is not how do you use other people's money, but how do you use other people's manpower. Now, this is going to sound really crazy coming from a technology founder because everyone is talking about automation. How can you automate everything? I want to automate everything. I want drip campaigns and email drip and text message drip and robocalls and I want mini chat. I want everything to be automated. Well, in this high tech world, oftentimes we forget to be high touch. One of the things about growing up as a millennial, and you've seen it if you have kids who are millennials or you are a millennial, is that oftentimes we're so connected to our phones that we're disconnected from everything else. We're so connected to our phones and media and distractions that we're disconnected from everything else. And so while everyone else, all the other real estate agents are trying to figure out ways to automate things and make things more robotic, and they're focusing on trying to be as high tech as possible. Don't forget to be high touch. In this high tech world, don't forget to be high touch because the sale is made when the relationship is built. And it's really hard to build relationships with a robot. The problem is, though, it's only one of you, and it's like 1,000 real estate leads who come through every month. So how can you build a relationship with everyone? You can't right now, but you can. That doesn't mean everything has to be automated. You need to figure out other ways to automate your process with people and use other people's manpower. That's one of the things that Smart Alto helps you do. When a new real estate lead comes in, as opposed to you picking up the phone, calling that person, or texting that person, or putting them on a email drip campaign, you can have a personal touch at scale. So you can use and tap into other people's manpower. Because you can say, well, Hassan has spent the past 2.5 years building the infrastructure to allow people, you, to automate your process at scale with the human touch. So you can focus on trying to do that yourself. You can go out, you can hire ISAs, you can get mini chat, you can do all of these things which are either ineffective or really expensive. Or you can say, I'm just going to tap into Smart Alto because I know Smart Alto will qualify real estate leads for me and do it at scale with real people in the most effective way possible. I want you to write this down, put it on your refrigerator or something, right? OPM is the new hustle. Other people's manpower, leveraging other people's manpower is the new hustle. How can you do that? Figure out ways you can tap into what other people have already built and just leverage that. Other people's manpower. Nothing great happens alone. Even if you're an individual agent, you can't build a multi-million dollar business alone. You got to do it with other folks. You got to partner with good technology providers. You got to have a good coach. You got to have a good partner, a good spouse. You can't do everything alone. The person who tries to do everything alone, ultimately you just hit a wall, you get burned out, and there's just only so much you can do. It's only so many deals you can do. It's only so many people you can qualify. You gotta figure out the best way to use OPM. That's why going to lunch with people is such a good, great use of time. Leverage. That's right, Josh. Leverage. OPM. How can you use other people's manpower? Now, like Dale said, other people's money is also a big deal. One of my friends in the Washington, D.C. area, he started buying properties in 1999. Today, he owns more than $200 million of real estate in the Washington, D.C. area. More than 200 million. He was using other people's money. He was using other people's money. He was using other people's money. But you got to figure out how to use other people's manpower. And that's one of the things that when you look at the top agents, teams, brokers, they've all figured out how to do that. How am I going to use other people's manpower to get more done in a day that I myself could do in a week, a month, a year? That's what you got to figure out. That's what you got to figure out. How can you use other people's manpower? One of the things that you may not be fully aware of is everyone's trying to sell you something, but there are 10 times more people who are trying to sell me something than you something. When you run a technology company, this was not immediately obvious to me when I started this company that I would be just looked at by salespeople and folks of other companies as a big pile of cash. And so if someone isn't in my phone, I don't even answer the phone anymore because it's probably someone trying to sell me something. If I don't have their name in my phone, I don't answer their call. That's why the best way to get in contact with me is through text messaging because I can read the text. Like I say, oh, this is Josh. I know Josh. Oh, this is Dale. Oh, this is Eric. Right? I can respond to that. But if you just call me and I don't have your number, I'm not answering because people are always trying to sell me something. I got engineers, product managers, product designers, sales folks. I got all these people, finance, all these folks, and you got all these companies who are trying to sell them something too. So I have to figure out how to leverage my time and what should I be spending time, energy, and focus on. So we buy some of these tools. Why? So that we can leverage OPM. It's one of the ways I was able to double my business over the past 12 months. OPM. Got to figure it out for your business. What tools? What are some of the favorite tools that you use in your business today? I would love to know some of them. OPM. So we talked about building trust. We talked about the importance of teaching. We talked about building community. I would love to know if anyone here has a Facebook group, a community Facebook group that they run. I would love to know that. Um, I'm speaking at NAR recently. I mentioned this a couple of minutes ago. Speaking at NAR about how to build better relationships with customers through digital marketing. And I have one example of an agent who's built great community, but I don't have a second example. And I would love if someone who's watching would tell me how they're building the community because well, I only share that if you're also open to me using you as an example in my presentation because I would love it. So we talked about building community. We talked about the sale is made when the relationship is built. So you need to work to build as many strong, valuable relationships with as many people as possible. Talked about OPM. EQ is greater than IQ. Knowing your numbers. This is my last one. Last one. This is a relatively short list today, but it's some of the most important things I've learned. Knowing your numbers. So, what is one of your top priorities as an entrepreneur, as a business owner? And by the way, if you didn't know it, As a real estate professional, you're a business owner. They don't tell you that in real estate school. They tell you how to handle the transaction, which is not the most difficult part about the business by far. What's your number one job? Why do you get paid the big bucks? It's because your job is to figure out, how do I use all these resources that I have? I got tons of resources: time, energy, money. I got all these things, my focus. Where do I use my resources? That's your job. How do you evaluate where you should spend your time? How do you evaluate where you should spend your money? How do you know that? Well, one of the best ways to know it is to know your numbers. Know your numbers. Know what's working and what's not working. Know what's successful. Know what's not successful. I'm I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm a little disappointed by how many folks I talk to who don't know their numbers. How much does it cost you to get a lead? How much does it cost you to get a booked appointment? How much does it cost you to get a client, buyer's agreement, seller's agreement? How much does it cost you to get that? How are your different lead sources performing? Do you have a 3x ROI on Zillow, 10x ROI on Facebook, or is it the reverse? How do you know? If you close a deal today, what would that do to your numbers? If you closed a Facebook deal today, what would that do for your numbers? What about Zillow or any other lead source that you're using? You gotta know your numbers. Digital marketing, online marketing is the closest thing to a crystal ball that we have in the world. For every ad that you run, you get data. With every bit of data, you're able to make a better decision. You get data, you get more information. Now you can use that information to make a better decision. That's your job. That's part of your job. How are you using all of this data to make better, more informed decisions? So you got to know your numbers, three numbers. How much does it cost you to get a lead? How much does it cost you to get a booked appointment, to get on the phone with someone or in-person appointment? How much does it cost you to get a new client? If you don't know those three things, it's really difficult for you to build a consistent, predictable business, which means it gets hard for you to grow because now you don't know what should you invest in, what should you pull back on. I hope someone is committed to understanding your numbers, understanding your path forward. Okay? Hope someone is committed to that. So that's it. Hopefully, this was helpful for you. If it was, then just put something in the comments. Let me know. Oh, you said it was helpful. Other people's mindset, other people's money. Yeah. Other people's manpower. That's really the new hustle. Leveraging other people's manpower. So we talked about a couple of things. We talked about the importance of teaching, building trust, EQ greater than IQ, other people's money. The sale is made when the relationship is built, building community, knowing your numbers. We talked about all those things. Hopefully, this is something that can help you grow and build a bigger business. If you are interested in learning more about Smart Alto and how we help you qualify real estate leads, prioritize real estate leads, how we help you close more deals, grow your business, I would love to chat with you. I would love to have someone on my team chat with you. I take, what we do very seriously, really deeply care about your business. Hopefully that comes through on these Facebook Lives that I have. I don't have these as frequently as I would like to, because like you, I'm really busy. It's hard for me to get away, but I do want to take time to chat with you, to say hello, and be around. So if you're interested in learning more about Smart Alto, put that in the comments. I'll be sure to follow up with you, have someone on my team follow up with you. But if you have any questions about anything that we talked about today, then to put that in the comments because immediately after this, I'll hop into the Facebook group and I'll be around to answer questions at least for the next 9 minutes before my 4 o'clock call. All right. So thanks so much. It was great chatting with you, and see you soon.